Reliving Northwoods History with Kerry. Spring in the Northwoods is a dangerous time for wildland fires. Despite the rain, dry grasses and other forest materials make for a proverbial tinderbox until things green up, which is why May is National Wildfire Awareness Month. Most everybody knows about the national symbol for forest and wildland fire prevention, the beloved Smokey Bear. This character was developed as a publicity campaign toward the end of World War II in 1944 in an attempt to stop wildland fires at their source, careless people. Everybody knows Smokey Bear's famous tagline, "Remember, only you can prevent forest fires." Smokey Bear was originally drawn by artist Albert Stahl under the direction of the U.S. Forest Service and the National Association of State Foresters. The Smokey Bear icon would become very popular throughout the country, appearing in radio, cartoons, on stamps, in music, and merchandise. Later, Forest Service worker and artist Rudy Wendelin would become the campaign's full-time artist and manager, endearing Smokey Bear in the minds of Americans for decades. In 1950, two important things occurred in Smokey Bear history. First, most people are familiar with the black bear cub rescued from a forest fire in New Mexico, who would become known as the living representation of Smokey Bear. But less people know about the creation of the first Smokey Bear costume, which was developed right here in the Northwoods. In the summer of 1950, the Wisconsin Conservation Department's Station No. 3 in Mercer decided to enter a float in the Firemen's Convention Parade, which was scheduled for August 3rd in nearby Hurley. District Ranger Bill Careau and Forest Ranger Bernard Klugo were discussing ideas for a float when a young conservation technician named Frank Brunner Jr. joined the conversation. They decided to create a life-size version of a popular 1948 Smokey Bear stamp, depicting the bear kneeling in prayer. Frank Brunner was tasked with creating the full-size version of Smokey Bear. He constructed a bear from scratch using a wooden framework and a bear mount. Frank carved the head to his specifications out of a cedar pole. The replica was placed onto a flatbed trailer and surrounded by other animal mounts, with a placard that read, "And please, make people careful. Amen." Just like in the stamp. The little rescued cub in New Mexico had not quite gained national recognition yet, so this float in Hurley, Wisconsin was the first time the public saw Smokey Bear come off the paper and into real life. The float was a huge hit at the parade. Due to the success of the parade and the impression it had on the children that saw it, the men decided to take Smokey a step further, turning Smokey Bear into a wearable mascot costume. Klugo once again tasked Frank Brunner with the project. With help from station secretary and seamstress Ada Hart and local taxidermist Frank Long, the four of them used a real bear hide and created the first Smokey Bear costume in history. The costume was first worn by Brunner at the Wisconsin Logging Congress Parade in Wausau on September 28, 1950, with tremendous effect. Children and people of all ages were astonished to see this beloved character come to life, walking around and visiting with parade goers. As you can imagine, Frank described the suit as being incredibly hot, covered in real bear fur. Later, a better Smokey suit was constructed with his famous blue jeans and campaign hat, retiring the first suit. Frank Brunner Jr. went on to have a 26-year career in the Conservation Service, wearing a Smokey Bear costume to countless parades, schools, and other functions, teaching people the importance of protecting our natural resources and practicing fire safety. Frank retired in 1968 and passed in 1993. The first suit was stored away where the body portion was lost to history. But in 1984, for Smokey's 40th birthday, Mercer Fire Control Assistant Dave Slight was able to track down the original costume's head in a Tomahawk DNR warehouse. The head was placed in a display case where it can be seen today at the Mercer Public Library. Although Smokey Bear was created on paper in 1944, Smokey took his first steps in Mercer, Wisconsin in 1950. Smokey Bear is the longest-running public service announcement in U.S. history, this year celebrating his 80th birthday. Today, the Wisconsin DNR uses over 40 Smokey Bear costumes to educate the public about fire prevention. Coming up this summer, a special showing of Rudy Wendelin's Smokey Bear prints, on loan from the USDA National Agricultural Library in Washington, D.C., will be displayed at Rhinelander's Pioneer Park Historical Complex, July 2nd through July 7th. courtesy of Chequamegon-Nicolet National Forest headquarters in Rhinelander. I hope you'll take this opportunity to check out this smoky history visiting the Northwoods. And remember, only you can prevent wildfires. I'm Kerry Bladorn, and this is Connecting the Dots, Reliving Northwoods History on Newswatch 12. Connecting the Dots, Reliving Northwoods History with Kerry Bladorn.